Hey, what up, guys? Coming to you this morning with these what's next on Mikey Garcia, former welterweight champion, or former 4-division world champion. I'm sorry, welterweight contender now. And yeah, we're just going to take a look at, run through the top 10, see what his likely options are. Now, before we go into the top 10, stuff that's being said since his fight, he main evented a February 29th card when he scored a hard-fought but deserving 12-round unanimous decision over former welterweight champion Jesse Vargas. It was a good, solid performance out of Mikey. He finally let everybody know that he can contend at welterweight, as he beat a good, solid former champion in Vargas, who was coming down from 154 to fight him. So it was a really good fight. Mikey kind of timed Vargas, who was winning some of the early rounds, and then finally started catching him with some really good shots, and knocked him down in the 6th and route to a unanimous decision. But it ended up being close. Vargas won the last couple rounds, but Mikey proved he can contend at 147, and this is his new division, and he's going to stay here. So let's take a look at what's next for him. Now, they're talking about he's in the running. He's one of two guys that Manny Pacquiao wants to fight. That's first on Manny Pacquiao's list. Pacquiao said he wants to fight either Errol Spence, the unified champ, or he wants to fight Mikey Garcia. So, there's been a couple other names thrown around for Pacquiao, but those are the top two guys that Pacquiao himself said he'd like to fight next. Now, Mikey is down to fight him. He said that's the fight that he wants, or he wants one of the world champions. That's what Mikey's saying. So let's take a look at the top 10 and see what's possible. Mikey is currently number 8, so let's look at number 1 on the list. We have two-way tie for first. First up, we'll look at unified champion Errol Spence Jr. He holds the IBF and WBC titles. This will be a rematch from their fight last year where Spence really put it on Mikey. Errol's not going to fight him again in a rematch. Errol Spence has so many other good options, and I don't think he looks at Mikey Garcia at all right now. He whipped his ass the first time. There'd be no sense in fighting him right now. So that fight's not going to happen next. Mikey versus Terrence Crawford, the WBO champion. Now, Mikey said at his post-fight press conference that if the Pacquiao fight for some reason did not happen for him, that he would be willing to face Terrence Crawford in June. Crawford is said to be returning on June 13th if he's not in the Pacquiao mix. So Mikey said he'd put all his stuff with Bob Arum to the side, and he would consider a fight here with Terrence Crawford. So that would be big right there. I do think there's a chance that happens if Pacquiao goes in another direction and doesn't fight Mikey. So we'll see. Next at number 3 is the WBA Super Champion, Manny the Pac-Man Pacquiao. I think this is the most likely opponent for Mikey next. I think Manny would, after a year layoff, I think he'd face a guy like Mikey. I think it's a good matchup. I think after the way Mikey looked against Jesse Vargas, you could sell the fight a little bit better. But I also think that Manny is seriously looking at an Errol Spence fight, because he's going to catch Spence coming off that car accident, and I think this might be the best opportune time to catch him and have a good shot at beating him more than regular. And I think Pacquiao has a chance at Errol Spence no matter what, but Spence might be a little weary coming off of that car accident and everything. So again, this might be a good time for Mikey to catch him, so we'll see what happens. Next at number 4 is Keith One-Time Thurman, a former unified champ. I don't see this fight happening next. I don't think Thurman would be completely against it, but I think Thurman wants to come back with a tune-up fight in the second half of the year, and I think Mikey might be too tall of an order for him in his first fight back. But that's not to say that I don't think it could happen, but I don't think it will. So I'm going to lean towards a no right here. Next at number 5 is former two-time welterweight champ Sean Porter. There's another one I think is possible, but I think Mikey's going to lean more towards a world champion or, again, Manny Pacquiao. Porter's a tall order. It'd be a tough fight, but it's not to say that Mikey wouldn't go for it either, because Porter does have a name. Mikey might want to make a statement by beating a guy like Porter. And I think Mikey thinks he can beat anybody right now, to be honest. So Mikey has a lot of confidence, and I really think he believes in himself a lot, and he would fight anybody. So I wouldn't completely rule this fight out, especially if these two guys are left out in the cold while Errol Spence and Manny Pacquiao fight, and Terrence Crawford possibly gets Danny Garcia or something along those lines. Then I could see these two guys possibly locking horns, but I'm going to lean towards the less likely. Next at number 6 is Danny Garcia. Now, this is interesting. These guys almost fought late last year in the second half of the year. I wouldn't completely rule this fight out. I think this fight does have some legs to it because they did want a matchup last year. I like the matchup a lot. I think it's close to a pick'em fight, but I do think Mikey would have a chance of winning. But, you know, again, Mikey's going to look at Pacquiao. He's going to look at the possibility of a title shot first. And then if he can't, Danny's like a title fight. He's got a big name. So this isn't a bad option. And Mikey's got some pull because Mikey brings in a lot of viewers. So, yeah, I think this fight does have some legs to it. Next at number 7 is former world title challenger Yordenis Ugas. I don't think Mikey wants anything to do with Ugas. Ugas right now is kind of like the boogeyman of the division. He's got an awkward style, and I think he's going to have to become a mandatory challenger to get somebody in the ring. And a contender who's trying to get a world title shot or a big name, he's neither, and Mikey wouldn't entertain this fight, so I don't see this one happening next. Next at number 9 is Sergey Lipinets, which would be a rematch from their title fight back in 2018 at 140 pounds when Mikey handed Lipinets his only career defeat. Mikey's not looking at this fight next unless Mikey could get a world title shot. Lipinets is going to fight for the interim title likely in May, the IBF interim title. And if for some reason Errol Spence decided to vacate that belt instead of facing Lipinets next, and the belt went vacant, I think Mikey would possibly sign on to become a 5-division world champion. Lipinets wants to fight anyways, and I think Mikey would do it just to say, hey, you know, I want to become a 5-division world champ. So I wouldn't completely rule this one out if that scenario happened, and it could happen because Errol Spence might go for a Pacquiao fight. He might go after Porter or Danny Garcia instead of facing Lipinets because they're bigger names, and he still has a world title, so it is possible. Next at number 10 now, we have a 2-way tie for 10th. First up, Josecito Lopez. Now, if Mikey gets left out in the cold and can't find a good opponent, like a Pacquiao or a title fight, I find that hard to believe that he won't, but I do believe that if he doesn't, then a guy like Lopez would be perfect for him. But I'm going to lean towards the less likely because I do believe Mikey's going to get a big fight next. And then last and still tied for 10th was, I'm drawing a blank here. Thomas Delorme. Delorme, not a big name. He's fighting Jamal James anyways in April, and I think he's going to lose that fight. So, Mikey, this wouldn't interest him either way, but yeah, I don't see this one happening either. So, yeah, so that's it for Mikey Garcia and his what's next on what could be happening next. Personally, I think it's going to be Manny Pacquiao, but I definitely think it's going to be a big fight either way. So, make sure you're paying attention. Hope you enjoyed this, guys. True Boxing, you've been here with the truth.